The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins is a bold critique of religion aimed at challenging the belief in a supernatural deity and promoting a worldview based on science, reason, and evidence. In this book, Dawkins argues that belief in God is not only unnecessary but also harmful, and he provides a strong case for atheism. Below is a detailed note summarizing the key themes and arguments presented in the book. At the heart of the God Delusion is Dawkins' argument that belief in God is not required to explain the universe or human existence. He argues that science, particularly evolutionary biology, offers far more satisfying explanations for life, the universe, and everything in it. For Dawkins, the idea of God is a human-made concept, one that has no basis in reality and fails to stand up to critical scrutiny. Dawkins focuses on debunking the traditional arguments for the existence of God, such as the cosmological argument, the argument from design, and the moral argument. He critiques the idea that the universe requires a creator, arguing that natural processes like evolution provide a better and more parsimonious explanation for the complexity we observe in the world. One of the central themes of the book is Dawkins' critique of the argument from design, which posits that the complexity of the universe and life implies the existence of a designer. Dawkins uses evolutionary theory to demonstrate that complexity can arise naturally, without the need for a designer. Natural selection, acting on genetic variation, explains how intricate biological structures, like the eye or the wings of a bird, can evolve over time through small, incremental changes. Dawkins also addresses the concept of irreducible complexity, which is often used by proponents of intelligent design to argue that certain biological structures are too complex, have evolved through natural processes. He refutes this by showing how seemingly reducible systems can evolve through a series of functional intermediates, each providing some advantage to the organism. In The God Delusion, Dawkins explores the psychological and sociological origins of religious belief, suggesting that religion evolved as a byproduct of human cognitive processes. He posits that humans are naturally inclined to see agency and purpose in the world around them, which may explain the widespread belief in gods and spirits throughout human history. Dawkins argues that religion exploits this cognitive bias, reinforcing belief systems that have no empirical foundation. He also discusses the role of culture in perpetuating religious belief, particularly the way in which religious ideas are passed down from generation to generation. Dawkins likens religious belief to a meme, a cultural idea that spreads through populations like a virus, replicating itself across societies and gaining strength through tradition and authority. Religion as a source of harm. Dawkins devotes a significant portion of the book to discussing the harmful effects of religion on individuals and societies. He argues that religion, by encouraging faith without evidence, promotes irrational thinking and fosters division between people. In Dawkins' view, religion has been responsible for much of the violence and conflict throughout history, from the Crusades to contemporary religious terrorism. Moreover, Dawkins critiques religion for its impact on morality. He argues that religious morality is often arbitrary, outdated, and oppressive, citing examples such as the subjugation of women, discrimination against LGBTQ individuals, and the use of religion to justify violence. Dawkins suggests that human morality does not require religion and can be grounded in secular ethics, based on reason, empathy, and the well-being of conscious creatures. One of Dawkins' primary goals in The God Delusion is to present atheism as a positive and liberating worldview. He argues that atheism is not simply a rejection of belief in God, but a celebration of reason, evidence, and human potential. Dawkins suggests that living without belief in a supernatural deity allows individuals to live more fully, embracing the wonders of the natural world and the achievements of human civilization. Dawkins also challenges the notion that atheism is a bleak or nihilistic worldview. He argues that meaning and purpose in life do not have to come from religion, but can be found in the pursuit of knowledge, creativity, and relationships with others. For Dawkins, the reality of a finite existence adds meaning to life, making every moment precious. Dawkins introduces the God hypothesis, which he defines as the belief that there exists a supernatural, personal creator of the universe, who is omnipotent, omniscient, and benevolent. He critiques this hypothesis from a scientific perspective, arguing that it fails to meet the standards of evidence required by scientific inquiry. Dawkins asserts that the God hypothesis is no more credible than belief in fairies or other supernatural entities, for which there is no evidence. He further argues that invoking God as an explanation for the universe's existence raises more problems than it solves. If the complexity of the universe requires an explanation, then the existence of an even more complex being like God would require an explanation too. Dawkins suggests that it is more rational to accept that the universe complexity can arise from simpler, natural processes, rather than invoking a supernatural designer. Dawkins is particularly concerned with the way religion influences children. He criticizes the practice of labeling children as belonging to a particular religion, such as calling a child a Christian child or a Muslim child, before they are old enough to make informed decisions about their beliefs. Dawkins argues that religious indoctrination of children is a form of mental conditioning that inhibits their ability to think critically and independently. He advocates for teaching children about religion in a comparative and neutral way, rather than indoctrinating them into one specific belief system. In Dawkins' view, children should be encouraged to question and explore different ideas, including religious beliefs, rather than being taught to accept them uncritically. In The God Delusion, Dawkins presents a spectrum of theistic probability to categorize different levels of belief in God. On one end of the spectrum are strongists, who are 100% certain that God exists, while on the other end are strong atheists, who are 100% certain that God does not exist. In between are agnostics and varying degrees of belief and disbelief. Dawkins places himself between agnosticism and atheism, acknowledging that while he cannot prove with absolute certainty that God does not exist, the lack of evidence makes God's existence extremely improbable. He encourages readers to adopt a similarly skeptical stance, based on evidence and reason, rather than defaulting to belief, or assuming that belief and disbelief are equally valid positions. Science, for Dawkins, provides a far more reliable method of understanding the universe than religion. He emphasizes that science is based on evidence, testability, and falsifiability, in contrast to religious beliefs that rely on faith. Dawkins discusses the achievements of science in explaining the natural world, from the origins of the universe to the development of life through evolution, arguing that scientific explanations are both more satisfying and more likely to be true. He also criticizes the idea that science and religion can coexist peacefully through non-overlapping magisteria, the notion that science deals with the natural world while religion addresses moral and spiritual questions. Dawkins rejects this view, arguing that religious claims often encroach on scientific territory and make statements about the natural world that are not supported by evidence.